All right, well, now I'm going to turn it over to my advisor, Dr. Anna Grimshaw, who's going to moderate the discussion to follow. If you have any questions, please start sending them in the chat to me or to Johnny or Britt. I encourage you to ask Britt and Johnny questions because you can text me or call me anytime, but we only have about half an hour with Johnny and Britt. So please start sending questions their way, and my advisor, Dr. Grimshaw, will start looking through the chat.
Okay, great. So thank you for everyone who is here, and very much look forward to your comments and questions to Johnny and Britt and to the filmmaker Anna. The first thing I want to do, though, is to thank Johnny and Britt for the important work that they're doing, which is difficult work, as the film shows, but so critical in our current moment, but also to thank them for the generosity they showed toward Anna and the support they gave her in her project. And congratulations to Anna on completing this film. So before we begin questions from the audience, I thought I would just start things off by asking Johnny and Britt what it was like to have a filmmaker in tow for several weeks. Were there difficulties caused by having someone around? Were there advantages to being filmed? And what did you think of the final film? Were you surprised by anything in it?
So I don't really think there was any difficulties as far as being filmed, other than, you know, sometimes it's a little awkward knowing you're being recorded, and it's one of those times where you forget how to walk because somebody's watching, that type of thing. But other than that, I really don't think there was any other difficulties being filmed, and there were definitely benefits, I would say, getting to look back and see things from other people's perspective and everything like that, what was going on and everything. Because, you know, in our mind at the time, we're doing so much or whatever, we're not really focused on the little details. And this helped us just kind of slow down and kind of look at it from a different perspective. But overall, we really do love it. It makes us feel like someone actually cares or appreciates, you know, what we're trying to do for our community. And then I'll turn it over to Britt so she can also speak on that if she wants to.
Hey, you guys. Yeah, I echo what Johnny said. So it was actually very easy because Anna, the way she came up to us was pretty much like any protester would have approached us. So it almost felt like we just had another volunteer with us. Sometimes I would even forget that the camera was there because I would just be making faces at Anna. And to be honest, being out in the streets with Anna and the camera, it would sometimes make me feel a little bit safe, because when officers see that camera on us, you know, they're not going to do anything. They're going to just go right past us. So times where Anna would come out, it would just almost feel like a breath of fresh air. Now, when I saw this film, I was like, who is that? Like, I didn't recognize myself at all, to be honest with you. And I'll say that I think Anna did a pretty great job capturing Justice for Georgia and our personalities, but I definitely did not recognize myself at all in that film as far as how I was talking and the things that I was doing and stuff. So it was pretty interesting.
Okay, Anna, so maybe you could let us have something of your perspective as to what it was like, what the challenges were for you as a filmmaker, and what you learned from Britt and Johnny about their work through filming them, and also what you learned about filmmaking by making this film.
Well, so when I started this project, I started by just reaching out to a bunch of different local racial justice organizations on social media, by email and things like that. But I was really drawn to Justice for Georgia for a couple reasons. First, they were one of the only organizations that I connected with that was still mobilizing safely but in person, which was not super common back in September, and even still now with the pandemic. So I really appreciated that I would be able to have the opportunity to film their work in action and really learn by participating alongside them. I did talk to Johnny before showing up to their first protest, but I've told them before, my heart was like absolutely racing that first day when I came up to them. And I knew that I was going to have to spend a lot of time building my relationship with them and getting to know them and getting to know their ins and outs for them to trust me as a filmmaker and trust my intentions, because I knew to them I was just some white Emory student with my camera who wants to learn about activism. And so, you know, I really value that I was able to spend the last really 6 months growing with them, learning from them, and seeing their progress. I mean, they only started back in June of 2020, and I connected with them at the end of September. So, you know, when I watched the film with them, when I finished editing it, it was cool to see how they got to see their growth over that time, because the film has some things from all the way back in October and then all the way up until February. So it was really cool to see their development, see them, you know, find their balance as activists, find their lane, as Britt often says. And so that was a really cool experience. And as a filmmaker, I mean, this project was unique because I went into it for my anthropology thesis. So, you know, I went in trying to be as non-intrusive as possible. At the same time, I was still actively participating as a protester and a volunteer of their organization. But it was really interesting to see how when they interacted with other media outlets, it was often, you know, you stand here, say this, repeat it back to the camera. You can even see in that clip of them getting interviewed, it's a lot of say it this way, say it that way. Whereas for me, it was like, okay, I want this angle, but I also know if I stand here, the protesters are not going to be able to see him as well, because I'll kind of be a guard between the two. So I learned a lot about, you know, what it means to be a filmmaker, my role as a filmmaker, how to capture them in a way that's reflexive of their work, and that represents them well, but also not intruding in the moment. So yeah, it was an eye-opening process as a filmmaker, and also learning about activism and their work to fight police brutality here in Georgia.
Great, thank you. So questions. Anybody like to post something in the chat or Ray? Oh, yes, Sydney, go ahead.
Thank you. And my question is actually sort of related to Debbie's question in the chat. So first of all, thank you, Anna. Thank you, Britt. Thank you, Johnny, for inviting us into this world. It's been great. And I have, you know, comments about the film, but I'll save it for later. And just start with a question, which is I was lucky to see an earlier version of the film from Anna. And in the earlier incarnation, the film was titled Good Trouble. And the title is changed to Justice for Georgia. So I'm really curious if Anna could talk a little bit about what motivated you to change the title, or how did you to sort of decide against titling it the sort of iconic John Lewis title, which I think Debbie had mentioned sort of in the chat about the kind of legacy of organizing. And yeah, so why did you change, and how did you arrive at the new title?
Yeah, honestly, a lot of that, the thought process behind that was through our conversation. And so I kind of went into the film and I was like, Getting in Good Trouble, that's a catchy title. I'm in Atlanta, I'm interested in civil rights activism. And I didn't really think twice about it. And then as I was getting to more of the final stages of the film, I realized that this film Britt and Johnny's work is really about family advocacy. And yes, they are getting in good trouble every day, you know, through marching, through protesting. But at the core, what makes their organization so special is they really found this gap that existed in Georgia and exists in other states too, where these families, if they didn't have Britt and Johnny, you know, they're grieving the loss of their loved ones, and then they're instantly expected to become activists themselves. And if they don't fight for their loved ones' justice, no one's going to. And so Britt and Johnny are really there to be their everything. They're there for emotional support. They're there for, I mean, they're not lawyers, but they're there for legal counseling and connecting them to the right people, the right politicians. And so I changed the title from Getting in Good Trouble because I think that gives the illusion of, you know, that the work is just protesting on the street. and it's very connected to politics, you know, with John Lewis being a politician. And I think it's important to show that in this work, there's many, many different segments and many, many different, you know, there's a lot of different type of work that needs to be done, you know, in conjunction to get racial justice, and the emotional support is just as important as marching on the streets.
Okay, well, actually, there's a nice follow-up question from Jessie Kwong to essentially to Britt and Johnny. How do you, Britt and Johnny, handle the emotional burden of supporting so many families, which was mentioned during the documentary?
I guess I'll go first. So I'm actually still learning, to be honest with you. I'm still learning because I'm one of those people where when I take something in, I take it all the way in. One of the things that I've learned is that it's not about me. These families literally are hurting. So sometimes you have to gather up the strength to stand up for them, to remember the facts for them, to lift them up, to be there. I always tell people, you know, what would you do if this was your mom or your father? How would you want them to treat them? So it's hard. I do meditate, I go hiking, and I allow myself to take a 2-hour break every day. 2 hours just to, I call it my refresh, where I just kind of start my day over. But you know, it's definitely a learning process. And honestly, if anyone were to ever get into family advocacy, I will say counseling is a very big deal as well. If you could get counseling, I definitely would say that it's good to do that. So that's what I do, but I'm still in the learning process. So you, Johnny?
For me, I'm not really sure how healthy it is, but I have to keep kind of like a wall up, you know, to keep doing this. For me to hear that, you know, somebody was killed in front of their mother, I don't know how I can hear stuff like that and then still be able to get up and go and do anything related to this if I don't have some type of wall up, some type of distance. It's like I care, but at the same time, it's like I can't have myself in a mental state where I'm breaking down and I can't do anything because it's impacted me too much. So like I said, I just have to keep a wall up and everything, and that's how I've really been coping though. Because some of the stories you hear, they're just too. They can be too much. They can be too much at times.
Thank you. There's another question here from Mitra Alikani for Britt and Johnny. Do you think watching yourself interacting with your work and the families who have been impacted have showed you things about these interactions you hadn't realized before? What did you learn about your work from watching the film?
Okay, so I'll definitely take this one first. I had to apologize to Johnny because I was like, oh my gosh, is that really how I talk? Like, is that really how oh my God. And that scene where it's literally just Johnny and Mike, God bless them. Mike is the one who is standing next to Johnny when we're at the rings, and I'm talking to them about, you know, why is nobody, basically, like, I get so frustrated sometimes, you guys, and I don't know why Johnny has to hear my vents. I am so sorry. Also, when we came in that morning, that was not rehearsed. Like, I was running late. Anna told me that she was at the office to do filming, and I genuinely thought that she was going to do like a setup like everyone else does when they do filming. I didn't know that she would already be in the office filming. So coming bum rushing in and being on the phone with Jabril Robinson's mom and then being like, so we need this. All right, good morning. Like, that's not normal. And I'm sorry. So I definitely learned that about myself, that I need to maybe dial it back a little bit, just a little bit.
Johnny.
Yeah, so I definitely think it's an interesting question. You kind of see like how like the impact I guess you have on the families from a different angle, seeing their reactions and everything from a different perspective. And for me, I can be a little standoffish, and I come off like that, I think, in some of the scenes in the film or whatever. And that's definitely something I want to work on with the families and everything. I definitely want to make sure they feel comfortable, accepted, and everything like that. So that'll be something I work on. And I have been working very hard, not to be too quiet, or too, you know what I'm saying, just off in the back or whatever, making sure I interact with different families and protesters and things of that nature.
Great, thank you. Lots of questions coming in. Nora Gross has a question to the three, Anna, Britt, and Johnny. What are your plans for the film? Britt and Johnny, are there ways in which this film will be useful to you in your work?
I can go first. So I really, with this project, I wanted to make something that could both serve the purpose of being my thesis and learning through that, and also something that I could give to whatever organizations I end up working with. So I plan to give this to Britt and Johnny for them to use on their website, and really in whatever capacity they want. We're going to have a private in-person screening for their members, the families they work with, their own families at the end of the month. So I'm excited for that. But I mean, moving forward, I'm in touch with some other organizations down in Georgia who I began working with through this project, and we're hoping to do some more screenings with them. And yeah, on top of that, I'm not quite sure, but I really hope to use it, use screenings as a way to get more donations for Britt and Johnny, and also to raise awareness and hopefully, not just increase donorship, but also increase volunteerism. Also, if you want to go and follow them on social media, they always really appreciate when people share their posts and spread the word that way.
Yeah, so I think this film is the perfect showcase to just kind of demonstrate what we do, because we explain to people what we do, and sometimes I feel like it can just sound like word salad. It's just like, oh, okay, well, you're advocates for the families, you support them, whatever. But actually seeing it in action, I think that takes it to another level. Being able to put that on our website, on YouTube, be able to just show people when they're really curious about, well, what do you do for the families and things like that. I think it takes it to the next level to actually see it in practice. So we'll definitely be using it going forward to, just sum up what we do. And I'll let Britt let you know if she has any other plans.
I actually agree with Johnny. I think it's a good introduction to Justice for Georgia. It's been less than a year since we started this organization. So I think that this is a first chapter to document like what we're doing. And, someone had said it, I forgot who specifically, but it also shows our growth, from that. So I think that it would be awesome to put it on the website. I think it would be awesome to show to new volunteers whenever they volunteer with Justice for Georgia, so that they can pretty much like really fully understand everything. Other than that, I don't think there's any other plans.
So a question from Aaron Besser for Britt and Johnny. How do you balance doing all the different things the film mentioned and showed, working with families, communicating with jails, the courts, planning rallies and marches, podcasting, and so on?
Did you say balance?
Yes. How do you balance doing all the different things?
I think Johnny and I pretty much, I told him, I was like, we're like a lava lamp, and those little globs that float around. We're like that pretty much with each other. So we understand each other's strengths and weaknesses, and we've learned each other's boundaries and what each other are comfortable with. But our heart is definitely in for family advocacy, civil and social justice, and for legislation to start holding these officers accountable. So with the balance, we pretty much run things by each other to make sure we're not overcrowding each other's calendar. And we also, you know, think certain things just make sense, right? Say for instance, I get a call from Rayshard Brooks' wife the night before, and you know, there's an emergency press conference because the DA decided to do what they did. You know, I'll call Johnny, let him know, and then we'll automatically know like how to work that. As far as specifics, Johnny is the one who creates the websites for all of these families, as well as has created the website for Justice for Georgia, and I'll let him go in about that. I'm kind of like, I guess everyone just calls me Mama Britt. I just kind of just go, and I'm thankful that Johnny goes with me every time when it comes to doing something or planning something.
Yeah, I guess this also goes back to growth. In the early stages, especially, you can see it in the film. We really didn't have any balance. So we were running into issues where we have too many things planned in one day, or things planned at the exact same time on the same day. So we really didn't have any balance. We were just going 100%. Well, not 100%, 150%. It was a bit much. There was no balance there. So what we had to do was start to figure out how to, like, okay, we got to dial it back a bit in some areas. Just kind of space things out, because, you know, at the end of the day, we're the ones setting, you know, events and things of that nature. So we can set it in a way where we can get some balance. We can put space between things that we have to do the same day, so that way we can have time to eat, and, you know, making sure we drink water and do all those types of things, so we can balance everything out, keep ourselves healthy and everything in the fight for the long term. Because, you know, if not, you know, burnout is real, and it can take a big toll on your health if you don't learn how to balance things out. And I think we've gotten a lot better at that.
Thank you. And maybe this will have to be the last question, unfortunately. Karen Downer says, Anna, I think you captured the work that is involved in being an activist. It feels overwhelming. What are the backgrounds that brought you here? And I think that's an interesting question for the three here, Britt, Johnny, and Anna. What were your backgrounds that brought you together in the making of this film?
I can go first. So I think, like a lot of people my age, specifically white people, this summer was a huge wake-up call. And growing up in predominantly white schools my whole life, I did not realize how much you know, is glossed over about race in America, and about how urgent and pressing these issues still are. And I found myself having a lot of conversations with people who look like me and have similar backgrounds as me on social media, as everyone was kind of scrambling to, you know, educate themselves and realizing how behind they were. And so I really saw the thesis program as an opportunity to actually, you know, take a step out there and learn for myself from people who are involved in this work and actually doing it, and not just from behind a screen. And one of the biggest things that I learned from my work is that, I mean, doing that was really scary. And I think that a lot of people don't do it because they just succumb to discomfort, and they assume that in order to get involved that you have to know a certain amount to step, like there's some sort of barrier, like you have to educate yourself to this point in order to join Britt and Johnny on the street and protest. And I didn't really have time to do that. So I just kind of showed up and learned as I went. And Britt and Johnny were super welcoming to that. And I am sure if anyone here is in Atlanta and interested in doing that, they will welcome you too with open arms to come out to their protests. You can join me. I usually go once a weekend, and I can share more information about that. But that was really my background. And I was really lucky to come across Britt and Johnny at the time in my thesis when I did, and really learn from them really closely throughout the last 6 months.
Great, Johnny?
I guess I'll go next. So before this, I was just living my life. As Anna knows, I say several times, minding my business. I was not even, I mean, I wasn't thinking about doing anything like this. So pretty much I was making music, engineering, mixing and mastering. I did accounting, I did hair on the side, I did nails on the side. And I got tired. Like I got really, really tired. I was tired, honestly, in middle school when I learned about Emmett Till, but then I kept going. And then I got tired when I heard about, you know, Tamir Rice case being thrown out. Then I kept going. And I'm hearing more and more cases every single year. So the first day of protest, the first major day of protest when everyone gathered at Centennial and at the CNN Center, I came out. I didn't know and I came out by myself. I didn't know what I was going to do. I just knew I was angry and I was sick of it. And I happened to, and I can show you guys because I'm at the office. I was curious before I came out. I wanted to see if this actually happens in Georgia. And then I made the Justice for Georgia poster, which is right here. And all the red are actually names of people in Georgia who have been killed at the hands of police brutality and white supremacy. And literally from that day, I was bringing that poster out. It's pretty beaten up if you could see it clearly. I was pretty much out every day like, look, you guys, I got an idea. We need to kill this police brutality issue. I know that I'm not somebody that's been out here. I'm not Al Sharpton. I'm not, you know, John Lewis, but let's study what they did and then let's stay consistent about it. So then, you know, me being the hard-headed, stubborn person that I've always been, I'm like, I'm staying out here every single day. I don't care who leaves. I don't care who goes home. I don't care if it's just one of me, two of me. I don't care. I'm going to keep standing out here because there really is a bad problem here in Georgia. And in order for us to fix this problem as a nation, we have to clean up our house. We have to. So for 224 days, Johnny and I stood outside Centennial, and of course I'll let Johnny speak for himself, but we stood outside Centennial. And the only reason why we stopped on that 224th day was because we started protesting every day for 30 days at the Capitol. And now we are protesting for 28 straight days. We're still in the middle of it right now for Jamarian Robinson. It's just having that spirit of I'm not taking no for an answer. No, this is not okay to be ruled justified. No, it's not okay for this many unarmed Black women and men to be killed. It's not okay. No, it's not okay that mothers have to be desperate enough to try to get justice for their child, that they carry around a poster of their child's autopsy for how many years? No, it's not okay that a child was found rolled up in a mat, body completely obliterated at the same school that his mom worked for. No, it's not okay. So I don't know when I'll stop, honestly, because it's been a everyday thing. And I'm not tired, to be honest with you. I'm sick of it. I'm angry, I'm mad as hell, and I'm sick of it. So that's pretty much how I got my start.
Thank you. Johnny?
Yeah, so pretty much, I would say I wasn't really always politically aware of what was going on, everything like that. It wasn't really until college. I was around people that would, you know, they'd mention politics. They talk about, you know, police brutality. They talk about, you know, racism, institutional racism, all types of things. And, you know, at the time, I wasn't politically active yet. Like I tell people, your actions, you never know what seed you're planting, because the seed was planted then in me, pretty much. Like I heard everything I was saying, I just wasn't really processing it until later. And to see like the injustice, to see all the different things that were going on, just keep seeing it over and over again, it got to be too much. And then when George Floyd happened, you know, I just decided, I was like, well, I don't really know what to do or how to go about it, but I'm just going to do something. So I did initially hold off I'm not gonna lie, because of how bad the situation was in the city of Atlanta with the police, they were just being overly aggressive in response and everything. But you know, I thought about it. I was like, no, I can't just not go out there. So I just started attending random protests. I went to a march for reparations. I went to a march against, you know, police brutality in Clayton County, which is where I'm from. I went to a few different marches, protests, march against ICE. So I was just attending these protests and everything, these marches, and just trying to figure out how I get more involved. And it really wasn't until I got to Centennial and linked up with Britt and some other protesters as well. Like I found somewhere where they were doing something consistent and talking about follow-up steps, and that's where I wanted to be at. And it's crazy getting into this fight and extending into you know, protecting our vote and things like that as well, because we talk about things like that nature as well. Just talking with my grandma, and she told me, like, you know, during the civil rights movement, I was out there, we were trying to like help people get registered to vote, because you know that was such a struggle back then for Black people, and people threw like, you know, rocks and things of that nature at them, like racist people, to try to stop them. So to hear that, you know, and for me to be fighting for voter rights as well, I just thought that was pretty astounding. But you know, pretty much, I think the seed for why I got involved was planted in college. Just the things people would say and everything like that. I'd hear it, and you know, it really did stick with me, even though I didn't act on it at the time.
Thank you. Regrettably, we have to stop here. I think it's been a really great discussion. I'm sorry we didn't get through everybody's questions. I hope very much that you can follow up with Britt and Johnny and with Anna, and that the conversation and the work can continue. Again, thank you to Britt and Johnny for your work, for the work you're doing, and for helping Anna with the project. And again, congratulations to Anna on getting highest honors for her project. This is the first for the Department of Anthropology to have a film submitted as an honors project. So terrific achievement for Anna. And thank you everyone for coming to this screening, and I look forward to the conversation continuing.
Thank you so much, Dr. Grimshaw. Thank you again, Britt and Johnny. This was really special and great. I'm glad that all three of you could be part of it. And thank you everyone for coming. Again, the Venmo, if you're willing and able to give a donation to Justice for Georgia, is in the chat. If you're having trouble Venmoing them, feel free to Venmo me and I will pass it along to them. And if you're in the Atlanta area and have any questions for Britt and Johnny and would like to join us protesting outside of Centennial Olympic Park, they're outside from 5 to 7 p.m. every Saturday and Sunday. I usually go one of the days each weekend, so just text me. And if you're not in the area, please text with any questions you have. I'd love to follow up and tell you more about the project. I'm going to be posting the link to the film on my Facebook page. I'm not quite sure how my mom got the information about this screening to some of you, but I'm sure if I post on my Facebook, she will get that to you as well. All right. Thank you so much. Have a great night. Bye, everyone.